finishing in class. So a few of you haven't had homework in math for a while, and that's good. I wish it every day could be like that. And for some people it is. If you look through my book, they have a lot of 6s all the way across, right? So they're not taking homework home. They're getting it done. They're understanding it. They got their study sheet done. They're writing their test, okay? So I think you may not know it, but the people who picked up from the back, there is a lot of people that got 3 to 3 in that quiz. So if you know the stuff, obviously, it's easy, okay? But in 3 months will you know this stuff? That's the hard part. And that study sheet will come in handy, because it would be one read of the study sheet, and then you'll get it all back. Oh yeah, what? They start high, end high. Do they? How do I figure out the degrees? What does multiplicity 3 mean again? You just read it. If you don't have that, I don't really know what you're going to do. I guess you're just going to have to go through all 10 objectives of notes and make notes on them, also known as a study sheet, that you could have had done before. So you're going to be quite overwhelmed at the end of the year. There's 10 units, okay? Or 9 units, I should say. 9 study sheets is intimidating. That's only 9 pages, you know. So if that's intimidating, the 500 might be a little more intimidating. So we're going to go through the last part, and the last part is just adding one more level to this. If you look at before, this C right here, that was always 1 or -1. So we were just talking about reflections on the x-axis. Okay? Now, we're going to actually have a C. What would C do to a graph? What kind of stretch? Who does that C belong to? The Y. I could make that C come here very easily. Therefore, it should be a vertical stretch. So math is extremely compartmentalized when we teach it. And most students like that. Okay? Well, up to now, we haven't stretched anything. And then today, we're going to do a stretch factor. Okay? And it's finding that stretch factor that we're going to have to do. So the best way to be able to show you that is by looking at example 1. Okay? So example 1, here is your graph. Now, this is not the original graph. The original graph may have looked maybe something more like this. Okay? Maybe that was the original graph. And what happened is it got stretched. And it got stretched by a factor of C. Now, would it be stretched by a factor of C or stretched by a factor of 1 over C? Shouldn't it be 1 over C? Well, right now, where is a C where it's supposed to be? So it would be over here. So it would be a vertical stretch by C. Right? Remember that? We did this unit one time, okay? So get it where it's supposed to be, and then you can use the rules we've always learned. Because remember, C, when it's on the other side, it is the stretch factor, right? That gets all confusing. So I put it with the Y, get the X with the X, and I always know reciprocal. The word should always be reciprocal of the replacement, okay? So I'm just trying to relate this to something you've already known, because in essence, this isn't new, okay? So say it looked like that, and then it was stretched. The question would be, how much was it stretched? Okay? So how are you supposed to do that? And the trick is to be able to, first of all, look at the inflection, the points, the zeros. Now, the first one, what would be the factor? Going left to right, what would be the factor of the first one? Okay, I'm talking right here. What would be the factor? X plus 1. Okay. The next one. X, and the next one, X minus 3. So the equation was P of X equals X times X plus 1 times X minus 3. But this one was stretched by a factor of C. Now how do we find that C value? All you need is 1 point on the graph. Now, that point, just plug it in right. Put the y where the y is supposed to go. So negative, actually, let's go down here because we have lots of room. Negative 24 equals C times 2 times 2 plus 1 times 2 minus 3. All I did was plug that in there, right? So that's negative 24 equals, that's 2 times 3 times negative 1, negative 6c. Okay, now we're kind of at a grade 7 point. How do we find c? Divide by negative 6. So 4 equals c. So what is the equation in expanded form? Or, sorry, in factored form would be P of X equals 4x times x plus 1 times x minus 3. Okay, now this wanted it in expanded form, so that's just a little algebra. I would do the FOIL first. So P of X equals 4x times x squared plus 1x minus 3x is negative 2x and minus 3. Now I'm going to multiply the 4x in, and I will get 4x cubed minus 8x squared minus 12x. Does that make sense? So we're just going to do 3 more examples that could ask, there's only kind of 4 ways you could ever ask these questions. One, actually 3 ways. We're going to do kind of example 1 again. Now this one doesn't give me any equation at all. So we kind of need to know the last 3 objectives pretty well to be able to pull this one off. So we've got those 2 points are my zeros. What's happening at negative 2? What is the factor? X plus 2 to the 3. Good. And this would be x minus 2. So to be able to determine the equation, all you have to do is go P of x equals c times x minus 2 times x plus 2 cubed. Now, if you're ever going to find c, you need to have a point on the graph. Do not ever pick the x-intercepts, okay? We've already used them in the equation. So you can't use points that are already in the equation. You can't use them again. So what would be another valuable point? The y-intercept, okay? And do you see how it was very deliberate that they nicely went through there? Here's the other trick. What is the x or the y-intercept? It's not going so well here. Negative 8, yeah. 0, negative 8. Okay, so I think I had like 10 people say the wrong number before, so I think it was a challenge. How do you get that? Like how am I supposed to know that they're going by 4s? I have still people that are looking at me like I'm crazy up here, and okay, you got to look at this, right? How did they get to 20 by that many dashes? So you go 20 divided by 5 dashes, they went by 4s. So that's how you determine if they're counting by 4s. Now, y-intercepts are like the gift because you have to hardly do any work to solve these. Okay, I just put in 0, -8. Now, again, make sure you don't mix up the x and the y. It's very common because 0, -8, you read left to right, so you want to put it in the equation left to right. And we've all done it, right? Some of us do it numerous times. So then I will get -8 equals c times -2 times 8, right? So -8 equals -16c. So what does c equal? 1/2 equals c. So the equation would be p of x equals 1/2 x minus 2 times x plus 2 cubed. If you know the other objectives, this is a really easy one. Okay? Review plus I got to find a c value, right? You can't get this equation. Like there's no way you're pulling this off right here. Pretty simple concept, but if you forget this, I don't know how to get this. Okay? Now, here, this was all picture. You had to do it from a picture. This one, you have to do it from all words. Term and equation factored form of 4th degree polynomial. So be thinking this. Passes through 1, -12, and is tangent to 2, 0, and -3, 0. So what are my factors? X minus, no, not x minus 1. No. X minus 2 squared. Tangent to, aka counts, okay? And at -3, 0. So this would be x plus 3 squared. Okay, so you can see, I'm glad we had this little talk because most people would just go x minus 2, x plus 3, and then do it, come up to me and go, like, this isn't working, I don't get it. And I said, well, it's supposed to be a 4th degree polynomial. Yours would only be a 2 degree, right? So there's some evidence in there to be able to help you catch yourself. So this is the kind of root equation. And how are we supposed to find c? Put in the point. Okay, so can you see the redundancy here? Get the equation, sub in the point, find your c. Okay, so the point is -12 equals c times 1 minus 2 squared times 1 plus 3 squared cubed. No, squared, what I'm talking about. Okay, so -12 equals c times 1 minus 2 is -1. So -1 squared is. And then 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So we're doing -12 divided by 16 is -3/4 equals c. So my final equation is p of x equals -3/4 x minus 2 squared x plus 3 squared. So can somebody tell me what -3/4 means? A reflection on the x-axis and a vertical stretch by 3/4. See, after all that, that could just be, they say if p of x was this, what would be the transformations if it now went through this point. You got to plug it in, find C, and then look at your stretch factor. Okay? Here is the third way. So we're going to go right to example 5 because 4 is redundant. Example 5, here's the other way that they could give you a question. A polynomial has 3 roots. That means 3 x-intercepts. Now, negative 2 is a root with multiplicity 1. Let's translate that into small little math. What would it be? X plus 2. Okay? 1/3 is a root of multiplicity 2. That would be? Who has any idea what that would be? Yeah, it would be x minus 1/3 squared, right? But we can't leave it like that. So we would change that to 3x minus 1, and it would be squared, right? Because of multiplicity 2. Now, this is something that I would put on my study sheet, right? Like, you don't understand it, or understand how much learning it takes to be able to do that. But if I would have given you this on Tuesday, just the first, no one probably could have written 3x minus 1 squared. And I would be very surprised if you did, and I would probably say you took the course before, and you're doing it again, okay? So, like, there's a lot of stuff in there, and if I wrote that down, I would get, I could probably cover almost 3 objectives by just writing that little thing. And that's the trick to being able to make a good study sheet. And that's, if I read that in 3 months, 1/3 multiplicity 2, where'd the 2 go? Oh, right, that's a squared. And the 1/3, 3x minus 1, like, you see how that would bring back a lot. Now, 1 is a root of multiplicity 3. How would I write that? X minus 1 cubed. Okay, and it has a y-intercept of 2/3. What is the point they're talking about? 0 2/3, right? And I know it's easy just to get right at it and go. I know that people get this mixed up, and they put 2/3 0 into the equation. Okay? Now, if you were making a multiple choice, I know you would put that in as one of the wrong answers in the multiple choice, right? So remember, and I'm speaking from experience here, not preaching. Okay, that's the kind of thing that I would do if I skipped that step. So 2/3 equals C, and then we have x plus 2. I shouldn't put in my 2/3. Don't write that. That's the next step. P of x equals C x plus 2, 3x minus 1 squared, and x minus 1 cubed. So now I'm going to put in my x-axis. Y-intercept. 2/3 equals C 0 plus 2, 3 times 0 minus 1 squared, and 0 minus 1 cubed. Okay, so 2/3 equals C times 2, 3 times 0 is 0, minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1, and 0 minus 1 is negative 1. What's negative 1 cubed? Negative 1. So basically I have 2/3 equals negative 2C. Now this always gets people right here, okay? Like, oh man, I don't know how to do this. So do this. 2/3 divided by negative 2 over 1, right? That's what it is. That's what it means. 2/3 divided by 2. And we know division is the same thing as multiplication by a reciprocal. So 2/3 times 1 over negative 2. 2's would cancel, and I would get negative 1/3 equals C. So final equation, P of x equals negative 1/3 x plus 2, 3x minus 1 squared, x minus 1 cubed. Okay? Pretty easy? Good. So we're doing 1, 3, 5, 6, and 11 to 14. Now again, many of you are going to get done early. Can you please get working on your practice test after? Tomorrow I'll be starting a new unit. Monday you get the whole period for practice test. And Tuesday's your test.